Man, again, just very excited to have you on the show. It's interesting. I've been following the Instagram, the Dake Doc, for a while, and obviously been really enjoying like the content, the different clips. But
Mhm.
as soon as I saw your announcement, I saw you. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
like I have to talk to this guy. Like, obviously, I feel like, for lack of better words, an epic. This epic story
Yeah.
that kind of been going ongoing for a long time. And you've kind of been, the man behind the wheel for uh,
Yeah.
with 12 years, 12, 13 years. Um,
Yeah.
that's a long time, man. So I kind of just want to kind of see where your head's at and kind of what's been going on currently with post production.
For sure, yeah. So, I mean, essentially the film was never supposed to be a 12, 13-year film. It was supposed to be an 8-month film. I graduated college, I wrestled at NYU, and I graduated there in 2010. And 2011, I was just kinda looking on Facebook and I saw this group. I think it was even before there was, like, even fan pages on Facebook. It was like someone just made a page, and it was about a guy named Adam Fry. So Adam Fry went to Blair Academy, I think four-time prep national champ, number one recruit in the nation. He went to Cornell as a freshman and then unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer and then had like a terrible battle with cancer and passed away. This group was making a film about Adam, and then Adam used to come down to Long Beach all the time in the summer, and he used to check out the beach wrestling that was going on. So at the time, I was just acting. Like I started off as like a kid actor, and then I slowly got involved in filmmaking. And so I reached out to the group and I was like, hey, like, I knew Adam a little bit. He used to come down to Long Beach and hang out. I knew him a little bit personally. If there's any information you want to know, like I'd be happy to share, and I'd love to. Essentially, I was trying to be a part of the film, like
Yeah.
in any facet possible. I'm like, hey, I'm here to help. I can't do much, but like I'm just here if you need me. So the guy got back to me and was like, yeah, we're still writing the script, but I recently just did a tour up at Cornell University, and that guy was from California. He's like, what's really interesting. He's like, there's this guy who is about to go for his fourth national title, and if he wins, he'll become the greatest, well, arguably the greatest college wrestler of all time. And I'm like, what's his name? And he's like, his name is Kyle Dake. And I'm like, huh. I'm like, is he like a little blonde kid from Ithaca? He's like, well, he's blonde and he's from Ithaca, but he's not little. And I'm like, that name sounds so familiar. And I realized we were both on the national wrestling team together in high school out in Fargo. So I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah. So he definitely did get bigger. He was like a cadet when I was a junior. And I just remember one time we were having a team meeting in, I guess, like the dorms, because we stayed in the dorms at North Dakota State University. And we were having a team meeting, and this little kid was just, I mean, bouncing all over the couches, running all around. The coach was like, Kyle, sit at Dake, sit down. Dake, sit down. And he was just like all over the place. I was like, who is this kid? And then I remember just kind of watching him from afar, and he would just crush it. Like he was so good. I was like, oh, okay. Like, so he can kind of, he could walk the walk and talk the talk. So fast forward, how many years later, um, I'm talking with the guy and we're basically just kind of communicating back and forth. And he's like, yeah, he's like, well, it'd be cool to do a film on him, but I'm in California and it's just kind of hard to do. I'm like, well, I live in New York City. Like it's a 4-hour drive. It's not terrible for me. So he's like, well, what have you done before? And at the time, I really only directed a web series that a friend of mine and I wrote, and I got the whole crew together and we directed it. So, at the time, I didn't say I shot it. I just said I directed it. So he basically was like, "All right, cool. Like, just go up there and make the film." And he like got me some camera stuff. And at the time, I didn't even know what camera to shoot. Like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to make a movie. I didn't know how to do anything. So I kind of just like I just let him assume that I was, like, better than what because the web series came out like, it looked really good, but I said I directed it, which I did, but I didn't hold I didn't do anything. So, it was just, was talking with someone and they were like, "Dude, like, you don't know how to shoot anything." And I'm like, "Well, I got 3 weeks to learn because 'cause I'm going up there," so I asked a friend of mine who was, like, a big DP, and I was like, "What should I get?" like what kind of cameras, and he was telling me like an RE, like all this stuff, and I'm like, bro, we don't have a budget. He's like, oh, just get like a Canon 5D Mark II, and I'm like, okay, and that's like just so this is 20. We were prepping for this in like 20 late 2011. No, sorry, it was yeah, it was before the season started in 2012, I guess. So it was in
Okay.
yeah, 2012. So um, we got the Canon 5D Mark II, which was it was groundbreaking in 2008, 2009. Like you were able to shoot this is like the birth of DSLR filmmaking. You can get a camera for a fraction of the price and make it look really good. Um, so went up there and he told me the guy was like, so okay, you're gonna make a film about Kyle, but you can't tell Kyle you're making a film about him. Like you have like because they don't want to put pressure on him. So you gotta like pretend it's about the whole team. And I'm like, what? I'm like, all right, whatever. But Kyle knew immediately it was about him. So I was like kind of going up to him, like asking, like it looked like I was like favoring him because the
Yeah.
film was about him. But Rob Cole was awesome. He was great. And I went up there and basically started filming. And they had a really big wrestling house. It was almost like a fraternity house for wrestlers. And it was like I think it was every wrestler lived there except freshmen. Freshmen, I guess, had to live in the dorms or something like that. So it was sophomores up, every single wrestler lived in this wrestling house. And at the time, I was just bartending. I was bartending and trying to, act and make some films and whatever I could sort of make. So it was great. I would maybe bartend about 2, 3 days a week, and then I'd go up there, and then I'd go film. And he got me like a really cheap motel. Or it's weird because the first day he didn't even get me anything, and I was like, "Am I staying here? Like I don't even
You're gonna
know
sleep on
what."
the couch in the frat house?
I didn't even know what was going on. So I was like, "Hey," I'm like, "Could I stay at the house?" And then he's like, "Well, let me ask like the coach and whoever else." And they're like, like sorry, like the every single room is taken. And when I was in the home or in the big house, upstairs in the top floor, when you would walk up, there was like a weird cutout of the hallway. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, I could fit a mattress there. Like I feel like the tiniest mattress there on the floor. And then I asked and I was like, could I stay in the hallway? And they were like, yeah, I guess if you want. So I basically like I lived in the hallway. I like so Scott Bozak and I went to Home Depot and we got like a shower curtain with a rod for like a little bit of privacy, so I could sleep. And then we set it up and then I lived there for 8 months, and it was cool because I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna make this film, I have to be able to capture these moments, um, just by being around the house.
Yeah.
I have to be able to be there and capture these little moments and stuff like that. And keep in mind, I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea. I had no business being there making a film. And at the time, like 2012, it's interesting now because you would see every wrestler has a film guy, right? Every wrestler has sort of a social media team. They have a film guy, and that was non-existent then. Like nobody had any of that. As far as I remember, like there was never a person following a specific wrestler around. If there was, it would be maybe Flo doing some sort of thing on somebody. But even the cameras of when they would do the live streams of like the Cliff Keen Las Vegas, like the cameras that they used for the live streams were like shot on a potato camera. Like
Yeah. Or
they were
like from
just
like up in the stands, like from
yeah,
a distance, just trying to
yeah,
get something.
yeah. And like super pixelated, just like I mean, that was just the beginning of kind of everything. So um, fast forward 8 months later, Kyle won his fourth national title. I'm like, great, we got a little film here. Like, this is great. We get to see a lot of behind the scenes. And for me, I'm like, I'm gonna focus on, obviously the wrestling matches are important, of course, but I'm like, well, what's the mind frame behind Kyle? Him writing in his notebook every single day, like getting those interviews. And, I remember trying to interview Kyle. Obviously, I was a little intimidated. I was just like, all right, I don't know what to ask him and like how to do this and set it up. And but I knew how to do basic lighting setups and stuff like that. And the hardest thing that you don't realize when you're making a film is audio.
Yeah.
Audio, I learned the hard way, is it's obviously 50% of what you're experiencing, but in reality, it's sometimes more because you got the musical score, you got Foley, you got sound effects, you got all those things that really like sort of pull you in a way of like, okay, we want you to feel this way, then we'll like bring the music up. And if you ever watch a film, it could be the most beautiful sunset on earth, shot on the best camera with the best lenses. But if you have to like tune in to hear what they're saying, or you're like, well, what do they say? Like you tune out immediately. Or it could be filmed like the Blair Witch Project and it's just crazy and shaky and grainy. But if like the sound is there, you're like, oh, that's the director's choice.
Yeah.
So I recognize that right away. Like that's the difference between an amateur filmmaker and a professional filmmaker is essentially the sound. And I learned the hard way. So there was a lot of mistakes I made along the way. And so we finished the film out. It was done, and I was like, great, we're gonna go into post production. And the original producer at the time was like, we had some money for it. And then when he won, he's like, yeah, we don't have any money. And the guy's a great guy, but he's not a film producer. He was just someone that was like a fan and wanted to sort of do this. And um, I'm thankful for him for wanting to go out and try to do this. And it was my first paid job ever, so it was interesting. It felt good to be able to make something like this. But he's like, yeah, he's like, we don't have any money. So I'm like, okay, so what are we gonna do? And he's like, well, just give me back the footage, and then I'll have like my um like assistant edit it. I'm like, okay. So he sat on it for like 8 months. And at the time I'm like, I just can't let this project kind of just peter away into
Yeah.
the dust. I'm like, it's a really cool thing. It's good for me. So I cut a trailer together, on my own, and it allowed me to get other jobs, like editing at like CBS and like different stuff. So like it was allowing me to get other jobs and stuff. And so I transcribed every single interview. I typed it out by hand. So I'd go and play it back and then pause and type it. And then so I could do like a paper edit of the film. Okay. Like I'm going to string all the interviews together of what I wanted to say. And that will be the basic layout of the film. And I started editing it on my own. And I put together like a rough assemble. And then we got the footage back. So that was from 2013 to 2014. But during that time, Kyle was injured a lot. He broke his
Yeah.
foot, he broke his hand, he was off the mat for as longer than he's ever been since he began wrestling. And during that time, I was going up and getting additional interviews. So I was like, okay, I need more stuff here, I need some more stuff there, I need B-roll. So I was just and then I was like, you know what, let me just ask him what he's doing now and interview him now and talk about different things. I'm like, just to have it in the can. Finally put the film out in 2015. 2016 then came around shortly after, and I was like, well, I'm like, that was a really cool project. I'm like, but maybe there's a longer version of this. So obviously he went to the team trials. He lost in the finals, super close to Jaden Cox. And I was like, yeah, I think there's a longer version here. I'm like, I'm like, there's just something about him that, you know, his mental space, how he overcomes injury, how focused he is. I've never met someone like him. And I'm like, I really want to know more. And maybe I could take this as far as the Olympics. So, you know,
Because he has Olympic goals while all that's going on, so
totally.
it's like you can kind of see at some point like this is going to be something to where like one of my favorite documentaries is the John Trench story, and it's kind of covering like John's senior year. He's on a
Yeah,
redemption arc, like trying to get reach his goals, and you can kind of feel that vibe from Kyle. It's like, dude, at some point he's going to get pretty close, and the story is really the journey of it. I feel
totally.
like is what a lot of people resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah. So then, so that happened, and then, I'm pouring all my own money into this stuff. So, um, then 2017 kind of rolled around, obviously, but during that time he was constantly getting beat by Jordan. So like obviously Jordan was the glass ceiling that he could never break through. 2017, some injuries over there. And then that's when Functional Patterns got involved with Kyle. Kyle reached out to Naudi and was talking with him. And then we went to Hawaii. He was training there, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is really interesting." Like he's on some cutting edge stuff of what he wants to do with his body, how he wants to train, all this stuff. And then he finally makes the world team at 28, and then it was, that in and of itself was difficult just because, getting press credentials in the United States was easier. Like, who to speak to, USA Wrestling and a few people there. But UWW and figuring all that stuff out was
Yeah.
so difficult. I mean, I didn't know who to talk to, how to speak to. Anytime I tried to email someone, they would like shut me down, and I'm like, I just got to figure it out. I mean, there was a point to where in 2019 when I was in Kazakhstan and Kyle was wrestling in 4 hours and I wasn't even allowed in the arena. Like they told me I was going to have a press credential and I wasn't, but it all worked out in the end. And it was interesting because it went from nobody at UWW knowing me to what the hell are you doing to, the last two world championships, them doing a walkthrough with me through the arena of like where I want to go film, like what's best for
Yeah.
you. So it was a cool, like, and they're all awesome there. They're great. And like, there's been so many times where people are like, dude, could you get me a pass? Like, could you like let me film something? And I was like, bro, these people trust me. Like, you have no idea what it took to get this stuff. If I give you anything, like that's gonna like cut the trust with them. Like, I can't sacrifice that. Like, I spent years of them trying to build trust with them that like I won't release footage, I won't put that stuff out. Then they understood what the film was. So they're like, yeah, like, it's not, I'm not doing it for social media and stuff like that. So, but during that time, I was just pouring my own money into it. I knew, I knew what I wanted to make. And during that time, like I was upgrading my cameras. I was learning filmmaking on a much higher level. So as Kyle got better, I got better at filmmaking. So the film starts as like this, I wouldn't say rinky dink, but like just, an amateur style film on a DSLR, a little shaky, audio's not so good. And then it sort of ramps up into this. I mean, I like to think like a very cinematic looking style documentary. And I've never seen wrestling filmed in that aspect before. So I'm like, I really want to create something that I could see in my head that like, if I'm at the gym or I'm working out, like how I see myself wrestling, which clearly wouldn't be on the map, but it's like I just like how I dream I would want wrestling to look or how I see it. And I'm like, what better person to do that with than Kyle Dake,
When
And
you're
it
when you're
was
first like filming and stuff, and you're using this old camera, one of the things you said was the audio piece. Are you
yeah.
like recording something? You're like, all right, this is great. Like, let me go see how it turns out. And you go back, and it's just not the audio's not quite there. You can't hear somebody.
Oh, there's been so many times where it's like I thought I got something and it just sounds like there's a jet engine in the back and I'm like and there was no AI tools to clean that up. Like you would need to truly learn like they say crap in crap out. Like if the audio's crap when you put it in, there's nothing you could really do. Now, I mean there's like, magic of what they could do with bad audio
Yeah,
which never existed then. So it's like, sometimes I would have to go and re-record things if I could, but then I got better at it of like, okay, I'm gonna mic them up and then okay, how to run this into that. And so it took it took a while to sort of figure out. Um and I never forget when I was interviewing Kyle in 2013, like I did this whole like lighting setup with the weights in the back and it looked super dramatic. And I was interviewing him and, he gave a good interview. And then like a week later, we were just sitting in his room and, he was just kind of giving me a little bit of a tour and we were just talking and I was filming him and he just really opened up so much more. And I didn't even pry or ask more questions. He just felt like more comfortable. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
from now on, like any sort of interview that I want to do with him that's like personal, I'm going to do it in a space where we're by ourselves or like in a room that he's comfortable in.
yeah,
So like I kind of picked up on that. And then, as he cuts weight, he gets progressively more grumpy. So I'm like the per kilo per pound that he loses, I'll physically get further away because he bites. So it's like I had to, so I'm like I'm going to mic up the coach or any coaches with him. So when the coach is talking with him, I'll pick up his audio. And then I didn't have to be in his face. I could be further back. So it was yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's been a lot of people are always asked like, hey, what's going on with it? What's happening? And the film just happened organically, like after he went to Tokyo. I thought maybe I would end the film there. I'm like, obviously it's not what he wanted. He got a little injured, and I'm like, but I think it's still a good story nonetheless. And then he packs up, he moves to Penn State.
Yeah.
And then a lot of stuff unfolds there. Unfortunately, his father passes away, so it's like I'm like, okay, the story really obviously isn't done yet. Like, and then in Paris, I'm like, okay, I think this is where we could put the final touches on it. Whatever happens, happens. And the film really became not just about a wrestler, but about a boy who grows into a man and navigates the world, right? So it's like, yeah, you could say, wrestlers are tough because I think they're the toughest people on earth, but it's like life is tough. Life is really difficult, and you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to do a lot of things that you wish you didn't do, or wish things that you did do, and you learn from those things, and how you take those things and you move forward with them is what sort of creates character. So it's like I wanted to explore that as much as I can. I think watching him on the mat, that's all very public. We know how skilled he is as a wrestler, but we're like, okay, how does his mind work? What is his day to day like when he's
When the
presented with.
lights are off, well, like,
Yeah.
what is he going through? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. When life hits you at certain angles, or you fail or this or that, like how do you pick up and how do you move forward? And I was there for all that, all of his major surgeries, the birth of his two daughters and his son, literally everything. So you just see a man's life sort of unfold. And I feel like it just became like, if you're in any competitive field, whether if you want to be a lawyer or a doctor or, anything, it's like, hopefully you could watch this film and be like, okay, like if this guy's willing to put in this kind of work to be successful, like maybe I could take a page from his playbook, you know?
Yeah, and I think one thing that I think is interesting is obviously, like you said, Kyle Dake's a competitor, and sometimes when you're getting your weight down, we've all had those moments where maybe we say or do things maybe
Yeah.
at the time we wouldn't normally do. As somebody that you kind of grow this relationship with Kyle, and you're also trying to tell his story. Are there things that like you're trying to kind of figure out? All right, like he just kind of had a bad day. Do I really want to put this in here, or to kind of add to the whole story of what his life is kind of going through? How do you know when to include that? And maybe like I'm gonna keep that one out.
For sure. Like, I mean, we've definitely gotten into arguments and stuff like that. And I was like, dude, you keep it up. I'm going to make you look like Rain Man or Forrest Gump. Like I'm the one that's in control. But no, Kyle's great. And like, just like, I mean, we've known each other for over, 12, 13, 14 years now. And it's like being around him so much and stuff like that's part of the thing, and I think a lot of it is like having conversations off camera as well too, of where we could just sit and talk where the camera isn't in his face all the time,
Yeah,
just so he was able to get to know me as a person. So, we'll go out to dinner, we'll go out to lunch, and like he's like, "You bringing the camera?" I'm like, "No, like I don't need to, like it's not like I don't want you to feel like that you're on display all of the time. Like let us get to talk and just and shoot the shit and get to know each other more. So then when I do pick up the camera, you trust me,
yeah,
And rightfully so, like looking back, like he gave me unmitigated access, So I would try to put myself in his situation of a camera constantly in his face, or it would be in my face. And I get it. I get it. Sometimes you don't want things that are in there or whatnot. So he's really trusted me and kind of my vision of what I want for the film and what should be there and what shouldn't make it. And in terms of different things like different riffs here and there, yeah, if it serves the purpose of the story, right? If it serves the purpose of the story and it's something that will help move or understand who he is the person, sure. But if it doesn't, or it's repetitive, then it's like it doesn't need to be in there. I mean, I just have so much footage. There's just
yeah,
so much stuff. And before, when I even started the Instagram page, um, I was kind of gatekeeping a lot of the footage. And I guess partially because I was so scared to put anything out, because I just didn't want um UWW or anybody be like, hey, like you have to license it. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna listen, like I'm not gonna do anything. And then Kyle's like, dude, 90% of this stuff is gonna be left on the cutting room floor. Like we have to put some stuff out. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like we should do that. I should start cutting stuff together because people always ask me like, hey, like, what's going on with that film? Like, what are you guys doing? Are you still making that movie? You still making that movie? You know, so it's I'm glad I started it, and it's gotten some pretty good traction. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's interesting. You have so much film. How do you kind of categorize like, all right, like how do you start? Because it's like eating an elephant. Like you just go one
Yeah.
bite at a time and just trying to sift through it.
Yeah. So in 2020 or late 2020, Rob Cole helped us get some initial funding for the film, which is great with some help of Cornell alumni, and I was able to hire an editor. You know, I could edit it on my own, but it just I just didn't want to do it. I wanted someone. I wanted to be the fresh eyes that someone could present something to me, and then look at it because I'm just so tied into the film that it's like. And then I wanted to hire an editor who necessarily didn't know wrestling.
Yeah.
So where if they cut something together or just someone who's a really good storyteller. So I have an editor named Ian, who's an amazing editor. He's done a ton of feature films. He's even done like a 10-year project before too. And he had to watch every single clip. He watched every single clip, organized it all. It took him about 4 months to transcode everything, organize it all into a project file to where he could type in like um Kyle cutting weight, and then all the clips of Kyle cutting weight will come up, or Jordan Burroughs, or whatever, and it will all come up. So that really, really helped us. And then he put like a very, very rough assemble together. Um, so how I would take it is like, okay, let's say I go up and I film him, you know, like a day trip in now State College as opposed to Ithaca. That would be like one thing. So I'd go through some of the footage, look at it, just maybe do like a Word doc of like highlights that I thought were good and what to look for, and then I could put that away. So if I go back several months later, I could open up the Word doc and then be like, okay, oh yeah, there was a clip in there where he said that, or oh yeah, he talked about this in this interview. So it just helps me kind of jog my memory. But we basically did a rough assemble of all of the trips, you know, from the World Championships to different tournaments to day trips to, excuse me, to doctor's visits and stuff like that. So that's essentially how it was organized. And then by year. So, I mean, I have over 60 or 70 terabytes of footage. Like I just have so many hard drives on top of hard drives on top of hard drives of just like it's so much it's so much footage. Um but I'd rather, you know, I was talking to a few people over the years and they were like, is it necessary to go to all these things to do this? And I'm like, well, no, there's the short answer. But is it necessary to go to the World Championships? Is it necessary to do a day trip? Is it even necessary to make the film? No, it's not. But I'd rather have more footage than being like, damn, you know, I should have went to that tournament, or I should have got this and I should have got that. That's the one thing I did not want to regret is to do those things. And my bank account suffered. You know,
Yeah.
dude, I've maxed out credit cards. I was in Kazakhstan too, and I got an Airbnb and I showed up and it structurally wasn't even the same place. And I was just like, this isn't, and the person tried to like run out quick. I was like, wait, wait, wait. I'm like, is this, because I don't think this is the place that I booked. And they were like, oh, well, the other one had a flood, so we gave you this one. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. So I looked around, dude, there was like blood on the sheets. Like it was just, and it was like a 17-hour trip with like a couple different layovers. Like I can't stay in a place. Like it was horrible. So the only hotel at the time was like, that was available was like the Hilton, which in my head, it was like $170 a night. And back then for me, like that was just, it was really expensive and I didn't have any money. And I'm like, I can't stay in blood-stained sheets. So I booked the hotel, and that was like, I think I had about $40 left in my account. And I'm like, I got to make $40. So I'm like, at least the continental breakfast wasn't included, but like I knew people that were eating there. So I'd like slide in and then like, you know, eat some food and then go run to the arena because they had food there. So it's like, I also too didn't want money to be an object for me where it's like if if it's within your means of getting it, get it. The money will always come. Like I'm not, I'm not too worried about it at the moment. I just want to get like I don't want to let money be the reason why I wasn't able to go on a trip or I
Yeah.
wasn't able to get footage and stuff like that. And it's weird, man. Like I don't know what made me continue to pursue something like this where I was just it was like just bleeding from my pockets with money, you know?
Well, it's almost like the story's bigger. It's like
Yeah.
you can't you have to tell it. You have to be there to do it. And if you let things like money or blood-stained sheets at a random
Yeah.
Airbnb in Kazakhstan like get in the way, the story's not going to be told,
Totally. Totally.
At what point, like, so I feel like you kind of knew early on that this was bigger than just, telling the story of a successful wrestler. It's like of a person of somebody growing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to be, I think, relatable to a lot of people. And that. But was there like a singular moment where it clicked where I was like, dude, this is like so much bigger than maybe what I kind of initially started off. Like, I know you were talking about he was going through some injuries. Are you like thinking like, all right, yeah, he jacked up his hand at a tournament. I think he was wrestling maybe a Russian where he jacked up his hand,
Mhm.
and he was injured a lot outside of college. There's no like doubt when this is happening, like, all right, we can kind of move on to other stuff and maybe come back to it. It's just like, now we're going to keep kind of running and keep it going.
I think it was probably when he went to his first world championships, you know? People knew who he was, right? It wasn't like he was an unknown per se, but I don't think really people knew what he was capable of. And at the time, he was doing a ton of functional patterns. He was just kind of essentially learning. He was rebuilding his body back up, rebuilding his body, rebuilding how to move in space and understand his footing and different things. And some coaches were just really kind of confused by it. And there were some moments in the film where like I overhear coaches being like, "What the F is he doing, dude? Like, what is he doing crossing his feet, doing these things? Like he shouldn't be doing these things." And you know, I I'm like a fly on the wall, so I'm not going to interject. I'm not going to say anything. And not only did he win, but no one scored a single point on him the entire tournament. And people were shocked, but I was kind of like, I wasn't that shocked.
Yeah.
Like just
Because you
just
saw the
seeing,
work behind it.
I saw all the work of how he was moving and all these different things, and I was like, I just really sort of understood what he was doing and the work that he put in. And I was like, yeah, like there's no way someone's gonna beat him. He's too quick, he's too fast, he's too strong. Like, and you also got to get a hold of him too. You got to get a hand on him, and he's moving out of the way like a boxer. So it's like, how are you even going to do anything if you can't even get a hold of him? So I think maybe that was like one of the moments where I was like, wow, like I have like it's starting to turn into like a film here.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of moments too, with his wife when and his family when he had his first daughter that was born. That was a really special moment as well too. Um, a lot of his, grounding and how he rewired his home with the electrical systems, the massive water system that he has installed in his house, like all the blue light, I mean the red light therapy and all that stuff was, the blue blockers. Like he was wearing all that stuff before it was cool, and Ashton Hall started pouring, Saratoga water into that lemon,
Yeah.
you know.
Well,
So
people like I think with his glasses, I think at NCAA tournament, so one of my college coaches was there, and he saw him and didn't really understand. He's like he's just wearing these goofy glasses and was kind of giving him a hard time about it. But I think as a competitor, especially when you have somebody like a Jordan Burroughs that is kind of like what you said, that glass ceiling above you, you just can't beat him. You're going to find a way and any
yeah,
any way whatsoever to get an edge. And if you need to mix up your training, if you need to maybe find, I guess at the time, maybe more unconventional methods to reach your goal. Now it's like, yeah, the blue light filter,
sure.
like the functional patterns, that's so
Yeah,
common. Like
yeah,
everybody's trying to do some kind of form of that in their
sure.
training. And I think a lot of it is, again, it's like, how are you going to find that edge, to be able to get the result that you want?
Yeah, totally, totally. And kind of watching that play out in real time too was just really, really special. I could have the film could have ended on its own when, he wanted to retire in 2016. He was beat up and he was like, I just don't. He had a great run, four-time NCAA national champ, four different weight classes, no red shirt, you know, killed it in some really good tournaments, finalists at the, Olympic team trials. Like, that's amazing. That's a great
Yeah.
career, but he just knew he had way more in the gas tank. Um, and in a way, I was just kind of along for the ride. He trusted me and I trusted him. And um, yeah, it's been cool because I just watch, I'm just around him all the time. So watching him move, watching him wrestle, like I know if he's having a good day, I know if he's having an off day. I mean, there's times where coaches would come up to like, hey, like what do you think? Like when he moves like this or does this? And I'd give them my 2 cents if they ask, right? I would never give like unsolicited, hey, I think maybe like it's like relax, dude.
I feel
So
like that's got to be tough too, especially if you know him super well and like somebody's giving him feedback or is talking to him in a way you're like, that's not gonna work. You're like, no
no,
way.
no, no. Yeah, and there's like, I mean, a lot of the times too, it was just so cool to be, mat side. I'm sitting right next to the coach filming, like in that box. And a lot of my friends and stuff were like, dude, you got like literally the best seat in the house. Like, what better than literally the mat being right here? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. I'm still looking through a 3 inch by 3 inch screen. Like if I take my eyes off for a second, the camera's down here. Like I have to focus it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've never oh no, I did once. I did once. It was I wanted to watch David Taylor versus Hassan Yazdani. So I was able to get, I held my camera and walked over to the mat and just like kind of sat by the side and watched it. So it was cool to experience that. But yeah, with all Kyle's matches, I'm like, hey, I have a job, you know, I have a job to do, and I have to. Kyle has his job to do, and he's gonna go out there and give it his best, and I got to go make sure that I get um, the best footage possible. And then, when I was filming him, I learned a lot when I was filming him in 2013 with like that interview, realizing that setting up lights is not the best way to go. So I'm like, I'm gonna use all natural light from now on. So all the interviews and everything else would be done in natural light. Um, Writing interview questions down, I would like write stuff down and then I'd look down and pause and then kind of look back up and then ask me. And that conversation of that connection would be broken. And then
Yeah.
I'd see him kind of drift a little bit. So I'm like, okay, no more writing anything down from now on. Just when you show, like, I'll have an idea of what I want to film in my head and I'll get there and usually it'll change completely. It'll just be like, okay, we're doing something different. Then I just have to roll with it. So then if I wrote everything down, then I'm like kind of fighting against the tide and it's harder. So I'm like, okay, I I would like to have this in mind. I would like to possibly do this. And then in reality, I'm like, okay, these are the shots cinematically that I want to capture. And that allowed me to do it. So when we would talk, we would just have conversations. Like we would just sit and have a conversation. So it just it just allowed him to open up a lot more and it just allowed him to connect to me. Um and go from there. Like I never had any formal training in terms of making films and documentary films and stuff like that. So it's like I just kind of went to where like, okay, like what are you interested in, Greg? Like what do you want to know? Like I'm making the film essentially for
As a
me.
fan. Yeah,
Yeah.
as a fan.
Yeah.
And
You
just using
know,
your intuition.
totally. And I'm like, if there's a lot of times where it's like, will people like it? You think, I'm like, no, I'm like, make the film for you. Like, make a film that you would want to watch immediately. Like, just make that movie. Like, that's the movie you need to make. Because then whatever happens with it, happens with it. As long as you're happy with it. Like, if nobody watches it and you're a fan of it, it's like, cool. You made a film that you like. And then you could only hope it's out of your control. Like, you don't know if people are going to like it or not. But if you like it, that's what matters.
Yeah, and you're gonna feel better about it at the end.
Totally.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're making it for somebody else, and it's like you don't want to sacrifice, I guess, part of your soul and all your time for something that you're
Y-
not going to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, I've met with a few producers over the years, and then they were allegedly going to give me some money to fund the film, and then they started giving me not ultimatums, but just like, so you can't have him talk about this, and we want you to kind of promote this, and we would. I'm like, what? First off, what? I'm like, you're not telling me how to make my movie. Like, You're not telling me what I should be in there, what shouldn't be in there. Like, we don't want negative things about X, Y, and Z. So if we were to give you the money, we just want to let you know. We're not saying that you should, but we're just like putting it out there. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. That's not the way I want to go. I'm gonna make the movie that I want to make. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like outsiders coming in trying to tell the story in a different way. It's like
Yeah,
it's part of your job is to create that integrity and make sure you keep it.
totally, totally. Yeah, yeah.
So, when you look at post production, is this going to be something that's going to be a movie? Is it going to be like a different part series?
Initially it was gonna be a feature, and then all of the footage that we have is just so much, so we were thinking like a 3 or 4-part series. Still debating of if I wanna make it like a very long feature, but with all the streaming stuff that's happening now, like a limited series, like a 3 or 4-part series, I think would be the way to go, have it broken up in that way. But at the end of the day, I think it just depends what platform, uh, we end up going with or however, like that's the goal, right? Is to get it on the biggest platform possible so that the world could see, you know. If someone was like, "Hey, um, we wanna like X platform is going to give you not X like Twitter, but just like, whatever platform is going to give you, a bunch of money, but it's not that big of a platform. And then a much larger platform is like, we're not going to give you too much money. I, I've never did it for the money. So I would probably go with the larger platform because I'm making the film for the wrestling world, in a way, it's my love letter to the sport. The sport has given me so much. It's allowed me to go to college. It's allowed me to make lifelong friends. I mean, you're a wrestler. Like you know the stuff that it's done for you personally. And I said to myself, I'm like, if I can't be the best wrestler in the world, I'm gonna make the best wrestling movie in the world. Um, and and that would be my contribution to the sport. And then I could walk away and not think about the matches I lost in high school and what I could have did better.
Well, it's always funny, like, when I talk to different people, and it's like, I'm not big on talking about myself or my own like accolades. I don't really have that, I guess, that many. But it's always interesting talking to different people. And I'll talk to people that never wrestled in college, and then when they hear that you wrestle in college, like, oh man, that's so awesome. And
Yeah,
it's like, dude, I didn't even qualify for nationals. Like, I don't
yeah,
even think that's that
yeah,
cool. But it's like
yeah.
there's different levels. Like there's a bell curve.
Totally, totally, totally. I was like, I was, uh, I was all state in college at D3. I don't even know what that means. There was a state tournament, and I was all state, which is cool. But no, I was never all American. I was never. It just didn't work out that way. And that's fine, and
That's
that's
okay.
okay. That's okay. Like I love the friends that I made, and high school too was amazing. And I mean, for me, it's like if I could just make this movie, like if I could put this movie out and the world could see it and the wrestling community could see it, it's like that's the mark that I want to leave on the sport. It's like if anyone wants to know about the sport of wrestling, I want them to be like, dude, you got to watch Kid Dynamite, the Kyle Dake story. Like that's the thing you got to watch. And I've always wanted to work in film. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker or work in film in some capacity. And wrestling along the way for me has been amazing. Like I said, I made lifelong friends. I've learned so many valuable lessons and been given opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten to to do this. And I was able to travel around the world and make this movie. And it's like how cool, right? I could make a movie, which is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I could do it about the sport that I care about the most. And it's given me so much. I'm like, what a cool thing. So like even though with the bloodstained sheets in Kazakhstan, I'm still grateful to be there and to experience stuff and just I'm also along for the ride too.
Well, part of I think being a wrestler is being able to adapt. So it's
Yeah.
like sometimes it seems
Yeah.
like you've done that this whole
Yeah.
process. Is like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm kind of BSing my way into this job, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out. And you did,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
going to Kazakhstan with not a lot of money in your pocket and showing up, and it's just not what you were expecting, and
No.
you're
No. I
still
mean, but
figuring it out.
But Kazakhstan, otherwise, it was great. The people were awesome. Like the food was delicious. It was a really cool city. Like it was a great time. It was a great time. So like, I didn't want to let that ruin the experience of what was happening there, you know. And anytime I travel anywhere, I'm like, you're not in the States. Like you just can't expect that. Like you just can't expect that. You just have to just roll with the punches. And it's fun too, you know. It's like you just gotta sort of figure it out. But in terms of post production, yeah, it's gonna be a big uphill battle, and that's why it's like, you know, we were trying to raise the funds to just finish this film out and do it right. You know, I've been a one man band the entire time, and that's why I never wanted to let me being a one man band reflect in the film, you know? So it's like I have to go back and then get the B-roll footage of what I was filming. I have to go get some drone footage. I have to get some establishing shots. Then after I film Kyle's match, I have to go film the refs a little bit, you know, throwing up, you know, two or one or whatever. So then I can intercut that and, you know, scoreboard stuff, like all of that fan stuff. So it's like, when I'm done filming Kyle, like I'm so not even close to being done. So it's like over a 3-day tournament, yeah, I'll film just Kyle's matches. But then if I had a crew of other people, I'd be able to get all that immediately. But
Yeah.
I knew obviously I didn't. It was just me. So it's like I have to go get all of this other stuff. And you know, you got to learn along the way too, you know? So
Like
it's
writing down, all right, I gotta make sure I get the score clock, the refs, the crowd. Because I think one of my buddies, he does like film and stuff like that.
mm,
And one of the things I was talking to him, and this is kind of a separate story. I'm
mm.
a wrestling coach and a teacher, and
Oh,
we did
cool.
like a mixed practice with one of my buddies down in San Diego. And I'm like, oh, dude, like I'll shoot some content, like we'll put it on our YouTube channel for the podcast. That'll be great. And the audio was so bad. It was like one of
Yeah.
those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I got a couple interviews with some kids that were pretty tough and audio wasn't on. And it was like a
Yeah.
15-minute interview.
Yeah.
But when I was trying to figure out like what's this production process look like, it's like, yeah, you kind of have to create a little bit of an outline because like you said,
Mm,
you show up
yeah.
sometimes and things aren't going to happen the way that you
Hmm.
want. But if you
Yeah.
kind of have like these targets, like this is what I want to make sure I capture, then you can go back and then add them in. Um,
Totally.
I, that's very much a learn as you go kind of thing.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you know, there's been times too where I've been trying to figure out like how I can capture different styles of audio. So it's like if you ever watch Hard Knocks or like when they mic up the football players and like in their helmets and they hit and you hear it and you hear them trash talk and you like it's just a whole different experience. Like when they're in there, you hear them breathing and like you're like, oh damn, like they hit hard. Like, you know, it's like it's just really just fascinating stuff. I'm like, how do you do that for wrestlers? Right? Like they mic up the refs, but that's not what like they're still far away. The closest mic you could put on the mat itself, like a shotgun, is on the edge of the mat. Once again, you'll just hear it just closer and maybe like them hitting the mat, but you don't hear a lot of different things. So like I was experimenting. I went online and got this like Russian spy mic that was like the size of like an earplug or something, or even like it was thin. So then I was like taking Kyle's old singlets and cutting it here and trying to slide it in here to see like what that would sound like. And then it would fall. Like we were just doing this in practice just to like figure out how to get like dynamic audio, you know? Because even if you put it in the headgear, it would still, now it's now blocked,
Yeah.
you know, so you don't hear it the way that you would want to experience it. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'm
I
still
don't
trying
think
to.
I don't that's too I feel like that's too crazy unless you have like some kind of band maybe like around the chest. But again, like if you take a shot and you're in good position, the
That's the
contact is going
thing.
to happen.
Yeah, even if it was here on their singlet, it's still hard plastic, you know. So if they're pulling this, like if someone pulls this and gets their fingers caught, someone clubs you, like it maybe wouldn't hurt the guy's hand, but like that plastic going in, you know, it's just something that like the only other way I was thinking of doing it is like how the boxing matches have it, where all these mics are just dropped directly down. Like there's like 30 of them. You know, that's like an only other way you can maybe hear that, but it's still not on the body. I've yet to figure that out. So
Yeah. I mean, when you're wrestling or when you're in the wrestling room, are you thinking about certain sounds that just kind of remind you of, all right, this is what wrestling sounds like. Football, you have that contact.
Sure.
When I'm trying to think of like wrestling sounds, I think of like maybe shoes on the mat, or
Yeah.
like somebody slipping on the mat, like when there's
Hmm.
sweat on the mat and there's like a slip
Yeah.
sound,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like a grunt or like something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Or like what does a club sound like when
The
that
thud.
gets the thud, the thud, I guess what else it would be? It would just like it just the heads grinding, or like um when someone takes a shot and you hear that explosive just animalistic note, like how do you capture that to where like, and the only way I mean, you and I both know like what that sounds like because we've been on the mat, we've wrestled, so it's like I was just trying to figure like how I could take that experience and put it on screen, like how you could do something like that, which I think would be interesting. But, at the end of the day too, like in terms of filming, I just wanted to capture something really cinematic. I feel like wrestling and how it's filmed, at least when I first started filming, hasn't looked that cinematic. And UWW has done a great job with their cameras that they have now. It looks really, really pretty, very, very
Yeah.
sharp. So it's like it's always ever evolving and trying to figure that out. And it's like I want it to look like a movie, like an actual like a narrative film, you know, but it's a documentary. Like I want to bring that quality to the film, So, but yeah, so we're at the tail end right now. We're going to be going live tomorrow, which is crazy. So fingers crossed that we have 60 days to raise $215,000. That's going to get us through post production. That'll be able to hopefully license all the Olympic footage, flow footage, any other additional stuff that we need. Um, Sound mix, mastering, color correction, all that good stuff. So
And you have to pay for those licensings and stuff. Like,
it
hey, you're gonna go to
depends.
Flow and be like, hey, like this is gonna be good for the sport. Like, can
They
I have
don't
the song?
care. Well,
Nah.
flow is good, but I mean, if you're, the Olympic committee would be a little more difficult. They're like, this is just the price. And that's why, if you notice, there's not a lot of Olympic documentaries. It's because the footage is so expensive. The footage is so expensive. So it's like, they're like, we're not going to make a film about Michael Phelps. I mean, there is, right? But if you notice a lot, it's not so much. If you really look at it, it's interviews, it's maybe B-roll of him as a kid,
Yeah.
but the Olympic footage is very, very few and far between. Pictures, you can less, so you can get around by licensing pictures. But obviously he's like one of the winningest gold medalists of all time. So it's like his career is in the pool at the Olympics. So that's something that I just have to navigate and prepare for. That it's going to cost a boatload of money, and that's what it's going to be. So, but in reality, it's like the Olympic footage is, I'll be able to cut it down to what I need. And the story really isn't just, it's not about him being at a 2-day tournament. Like his life doesn't revolve or encompass a 2-day tournament. It doesn't, although it is the greatest tournament on earth. Um, I mean, you look at it to where if you ask any of the NBA basketball players, what do you value more, Olympic gold medal or an NBA championship? I guarantee a lot of them will say the NBA championship. And I'm not discounting the Olympic gold medal at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just
It's
saying
just
that like
different.
it's different, but also like your life doesn't come down to that. Your life comes down to who you are as a person, what your values are, what your morals are, how you treat other people, the mistakes you made and how you move forward with that. So it's like it's a very small part of his whole life. So
It's the process over the result.
yeah,
And I
totally.
think for, a lot of people, myself included, like I started watching him wrestle when I was in high school.
Mhm.
And for me, it was, you know, I think those stories that you see very much had an impact on me. And I think when you look at young kids that are going to watch this film, I hope it has a similar impact where it's like at the end of the day, it's not about getting your hand raised. It's about
Yeah,
the process, is about how you do it. It's about how you treat people. Maybe when you're not feeling the
for
best,
sure.
it's about
Yeah,
overcoming things. And that's the vehicle that that's what wrestling is. At some point, you got to get off, and all those lessons, if you're just still about the gold medal you have around your neck or whatever, you're not going to get the most out of life after.
for sure. I mean, I never forget I lost like a close match in high school, and I was sulking and feeling sorry for myself in the corner. And my coach is like, "Hey, it's okay. You lost, but he's like, look, your teammates need you. We're still wrestling. He's like, come on. Like your leader, they need you. Like, let's go. And I'm like, damn. Like, yeah, you're right. It's not just about me. It's not about me at all. I lost. Like, it's okay. I'll figure it out. But like, those guys were looking up to me. Like, I have to go and and show them. So it's like, it's truly not about the wins or losses, but it's about how you move through life with it. And the lessons you learn. So,
I'm
yeah,
always trying to get that like with our kids, and I think getting them to try to buy into more of like a team concept instead of like, yeah, it's kind of an individual sport, but it's also a team sport too. It's
yeah,
hard to do things sometimes by yourself like that. Like it's just too
hmm,
much. Like especially if you
yeah,
work your tail off, you get to the end, you don't get what you want. When you're in the moment that you just said you were in, it's like, hey, the team still needs you. Like you need to
yeah,
deal with this later. Like not that
yeah,
it's not important, but
totally.
we still have the rest of the tournament to go through, and you need to collect yourself because we need you, and
Yeah,
doing sometimes things for other people. I don't know. At least for me, it's like if it's something that's just for me, I'm less likely to do it. But if it's for other people, yeah, I'm gonna go to the ends of the earth.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Have
Awesome.
you thought? I know you're still in the middle of it, obviously, but have you thought about what's gonna come after?
Like when it comes out,
Yeah, I mean, just like, once this is kind of done, like what's next? Because I mean, this is a big chunk of your life.
not another 12-year film, I'll tell you that. Not another 12-year film. I want to move maybe more into narrative stuff. I have a few scripts that I've written that I want to get made. And hopefully this will kind of allow me to springboard into those projects, few different projects that I've been passionate about for a long time, that I want to do that are, one's based on a true story, one's just a scripted one that I wrote. But hopefully this will give me sort of a seal of approval of like, okay, like he's made a film before, he's made a feature, he's made a multiple part series. Like maybe it'll be easier to get in those meetings and being taken more seriously of what my vision looks like and what I want to do to make something. So, um, but yeah, it's definitely not a 12-year film. I mean, it was never supposed to be that way, but I would never trade it for the world. I would never trade it for the world. Every dollar that I spent on this film, I would never trade it back for what I put it into. And it's special, and it's like I want to share it with the world, and hopefully, people receive it well. And if one kid just gets inspired by it, like then I did my job. You know, yeah.
Greg, dude, this has been a fantastic podcast.
Thank you.
Before we're done, you got anything else? Like I know it's the campaign. It's on Indigo.
Indiegogo, it's on.
Indiegogo.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you could
Indigo's
find.
like a internet company, I
I
think.
think yeah, Indigo's like a color, right, or something, or it's like
Well,
I don't
it's
even know.
yeah. It's all right. It's
I
not
don't
important.
know. Yeah, Indiegogo. I'm gonna post the link in my description tomorrow, on the Dake Doc page, and we're also releasing the trailer. The official trailer of the film will come out tomorrow, so everyone could check it out there at the Dake Doc on Instagram. And yeah, we're trying to raise money to finish this film out and show it to the world.